we are back again with the second part of the third chapter of Contemporary World Politics of Class 12th Political Science. In this chapter, we were discussing the new centers of power. We will be discussing about various organizations, as I told you earlier. In the previous lecture, we have already explained in detail about the European Union, and we also had introduced ASEAN. So today we will be continuing with the same, that is ASEAN, which is the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, established in 1967 by 5 nations, that is Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Thailand and Singapore. The twin objective of this organization included, once, to accelerate the economic growth and through that social progress and cultural development in that region, and to promote regional peace and stability based on the rule of law and the principles of UN Charter. The main purpose of this organization, as I had discussed in the last lecture, was to establish a fast pace of economic development in this area, which has already suffered a lot of destruction and a lot of backwardness because of the effect of colonialism. So later on, it was originally started by 5 nations, and later on Brunei Darussalam, Vietnam, Laos, PDR, Myanmar and Cambodia also joined ASEAN, and it further strengthened the organization. ASEAN does not believe in the same concept of achieving supranational powers as the European Union. In fact, it believes in developing its own concept, which is often referred to as the ASEAN way. Now, what is the ASEAN way? It is a form, excuse me, it is a form of interaction that is informal, non-confrontationist and cooperative. Along with it, it also promotes respect for national sovereignty, which is critical in the functioning of ASEAN. It strongly believes, as I told you, that it has suffered from colonialism. So it strongly believes in supporting the sovereignty of any particular nation. Originally, it has started to accelerate the economic growth, but over the years, it has broadened its objective beyond the economic and social spheres. In 2003, ASEAN moved along the path of the European Union by agreeing to establish an ASEAN community, just like the European community, which was established as a part of the European Union. And this community, ASEAN community, comprised of 3 main pillars. What were the pillars? The first was the ASEAN Security Community, the second was the ASEAN Economic Community, and the third was the ASEAN Socio-Cultural Community. So these 3 were the pillars of the ASEAN community. Now, if you talk about the security community, then the security community was based on the conviction that outstanding territorial disputes should not escalate into armed confrontation. This means whatever disputes are there, whatever territorial disputes are there between nations, they may not escalate, they may not increase and may take a form of a war. So basically it wanted to uphold peace in all conditions, neutrality, cooperation and non-interference. There should not be an interference in the internal affairs of any nation so as to further instigate any sort of violence. We already have discussed before that it has a huge respect for national sovereignty. So it has a respect for national differences and the sovereign rights. This is a very important aspect of the principles which are followed by ASEAN, that in any case it does not want to hamper the peace existing in the states and to interfere in the internal matters of the state. In this regard, the Asian Regional Forum, that is the ARF, which was established in 1994, this is the organization that carries out coordination of security and the foreign policy. If you talk about the next community, that is the ASEAN Economic Community. As I told you earlier only, the basic purpose of setting up ASEAN was the economic growth. So this ASEAN Economic Community, the objective of it is to create a common market and a production base within the ASEAN states and to aid social and economic development in the region. This also focused on creating a free trade area, that is an FTA, for investments, labor and services. Because of course the establishment of a free trade area will promote the trading in that particular region and thus will have a positive effect on the economic growth. The third is the ASEAN socio-cultural community. This socio-cultural community actually wanted to safeguard the social progress and the cultural identity of these nations without, again I am repeating, without interfering in each other's culture. So the cultural integrity was to be maintained and a social progress was there. As we told earlier only, that it always believed that the economic growth should be through social progress and cultural development. So this is what is ensured by the third pillar, that is the ASEAN socio-cultural community. Now, over the years, ASEAN is rapidly growing into becoming a very, very important regional organization. Its Vision 2020 has defined an outward-looking role for ASEAN in the international community. Over the years, it has played a very important role in mediating for the end of the Cambodian conflict. The Cambodian conflict was a kind of a civil war which was there in Cambodia between the communist group there and the government. So ASEAN played a very important role there in mediating in this and ensuring the conduct of elections in Cambodia and restoring of democracy. The second, it also played a role in the East Timor crisis, though critics say that the role played by ASEAN was not a very effective one. It was a very slow process which was there, and it was not very effective in restoring peace, but yes, it mediated and played a role in the East Timor crisis. East Timor crisis is again a crisis where a lot of eligible voters of East Timor, they wanted to be free from Indonesia. And it meets annually to discuss the East Asian cooperation. So over the years, it has increased its vision, it has increased its area of jurisdiction, it has increased its objectives, and for establishing, we are promoting the growth of these Southeast Asian nations. As far as ASEAN and India is concerned, previously India did not pay much attention to this association and it did not have very, you could say, favorable ties or any level of friendship ties with ASEAN. But over the years, in recent years, India has signed various trade agreements with 3 ASEAN members, that is Malaysia, Singapore and Thailand. And an ASEAN-India free trade area came into effect in 2010. So this was, over the years, our association with ASEAN has also improved and we are becoming more and more related to this, the members of this association in terms of trade. So if you say conclude about ASEAN, that it is the only regional association in Asia that provides a political forum where Asian countries and the major powers can discuss political and security concerns. It is a huge association, or regional association of Asia, which provides a platform for the discussion of the political and security concern. As far as the ASEAN strength, it lies in the policies of interaction and consultation with member states, with dialogue partners and with other non-regional organizations. The strength of ASEAN is not only limited to its member state, it is also extended to many of its dialogue partners as well as many non-regional organizations with which it is associated and is restoring the growth in this particular region. So this was all about ASEAN. A third organization which we will be talking about is SAARC. I suppose this is a term most of you must have heard of. Now what is SAARC? It is South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation. SAARC is a regional intergovernment organization and a geopolitical union of states in South Asia. The member states of SAARC are Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan and Sri Lanka. According to the data provided in 2019, the SAARC comprises of 3% of the world's area, 21% of the world's population, because of course most of these countries are densely populated, and 4.21% of the global economy, because most of these countries are the third world countries. So only 4.21% of the global economy. SAARC was founded and started in Dhaka on 8th December 1985, and the secretariat or the SAARC headquarters are situated in Kathmandu in Nepal. This organization basically promotes the development of economic and regional integration. It launched the South Asia Free Trade Area in 2006 because again trade is the main platform which is important for the economic growth. SAARC also maintains permanent diplomatic relations at the United Nations as an observer and has developed links with the multilateral entities including the European Union. So this was a basic introduction about SAARC. We will be doing SAARC in detail along with one more organization, that is BRICS, in the next lecture, which will be the concluding lecture of this chapter. Till then, keep studying and try to keep in touch with whatever lectures are being done and keep on making your notes on the basis of these lectures. Till then,